The Rangers couldn't play spoiler to Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider's welcome back party to the Garden on Monday night. Is the Blueshirts special teams holding this team back this season? Let's talk some Rangers hockey with our guy from Daily Faceoff and Morning Cup of Hockey, Jonny Lazarus. Jay Lazzy, I already have my morning cup of hockey, my guy. Appreciate you hopping on with us. And I guess we'll just start off with one of the major storylines coming out of the loss. They played this one, as you know, without Mika Zibanejad, who was benched for missing a team meeting. How much did Mika's absence impact the guys in the loss on Monday night?
Yeah, of course. When you lose a guy like Mika Zibanejad, it hurts your offense. And last night, the Rangers struggled to get even strength odd man rushes. They were only accounted for having two, actually, and that's according to Sport Logic. And, Mika's skating ability makes the Rangers a faster team. He gives them an extra scoring threat, helps on the power play as a one-time option. Obviously, again, he plays up the middle, too, at times. And the Rangers always need strength down the middle. But I think it was the right thing that Mike Sullivan did. Mike Sullivan has tried to set a standard in this organization that everyone has to abide by the same rules. And I think it's funny, and there's a lot of irony in the fans that were angry about Mika being scratched, because last year there was a lot of complaining about veterans not being held to the same standard as the young guys. And the young guys were being punished when, they made a mistake or messed up. I'm not saying missing meetings. I'm more saying mistakes on the ice. But it's good to see a veteran player held accountable. I think that goes a long way within the team. I think that sends the message that Mika Zibanejad is not above anybody else. And I think the Rangers can turn a new page after last night's game, despite not getting the victory. It's everyone's got to pull from the same rope. And, listen, there were weather factors that played into Mika being late and whatnot, but he's been here for as long as he has. And I think sometimes you just got to, measure your commute for traffic or for weather conditions and all that stuff. And like Mike Sullivan said, Mika was the first one to say, it's my fault. I take full responsibility, and I'll be back tomorrow night and I'll be ready to play. Like, I think it's been blown out of proportion just a little bit. We see things like this happen a lot. Actually, I just saw Artem Lashunov on the Chicago Blackhawks miss a meeting this morning. He's not playing tonight. Like, these things happen in the NHL. So it's not that big of a deal. And if anything, the fans that complained about no accountability last year, they're the ones who should be happy with that decision.
Yeah, Mika's got to switch over from Google Maps to Waze Maps. Waze
I'm a Waze guy too.
Cut it down. But let's talk about the return of Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba, man. They were back at the Garden. What was the fans' response to those two? And when you think of the legacy that those two guys left on the Rangers franchise, how do you remember those guys, Jay Lazzy?
Yeah, it's different with both guys. Chris Kreider was here for 13 years. Jacob Trouba was here for about 6. And I think a lot of Ranger fans grew up with Chris Kreider. For me personally, like, Chris Kreider was the first player that I ever knew before he actually stepped foot into the Rangers organization. I watched him play in the World Juniors for Team USA. I watched him play at Boston College, and I followed his whole entire career through New York, where he played in 4 conference finals. He played in the Stanley Cup final. He's now holding many records in Rangers franchise history, which again goes back 100 years. So it's very impressive. And I think he got a very warm and loving embrace from the fans. While Trouba's was a little bit shorter, Kreider's felt like it was double the amount of time as Trouba's was. But again, Chris Kreider spent double the amount of time within the organization that Trouba did. So it was a little awkward. I would say, just because Chris Kreider did like a little lap around the ice, like really patted his heart and showed his love to the fans, where maybe Trouba was just a little bit more uncomfortable being in that spotlight, and not every individual is comfortable being in that spotlight, so you can't blame them. But Jacob Trouba did a lot of good things here too. And, he went to 2 conference finals. He honestly is a guy that they probably could use this year. The Rangers could use a big physical presence on the back end, someone that the opponents are scared to play against. And a lot of fans, or a good mix of fans, wanted to see the Rangers move on from Jacob Trouba, but looking in the back mirror, maybe having him here would have helped the Rangers be a harder team to play against this year. So, those are 2 really good guys. They did a lot in the community. Jacob Trouba, especially with the Garden of Dreams. I mean, he was so active in the community, especially with his artwork. Chris Kreider too. And I'm really happy to see them both doing well in Anaheim.
Yeah, Mets fans can feel that. It's almost like Edwin Diaz and Polar Bear Pete leaving. It's not just about the on the field, the production. It's about what these guys, the legacy they leave within the community, within the that lasting neighborhood, around the Garden or around Citi Field. So two dudes that can eat for free in New York when they come back, and Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba. But let's get into some of the X's and O's from last night, because special teams was an absolute nightmare in this loss.
Yeah.
So does this loss, I guess, expose a deeper issue with Mike Sullivan's X's and O's and how this team is built, especially with Adam Fox out and special teams being so bad again? Like, at what point does special teams stop being a rough night and start being a real issue to you?
Well, it's very weird because it's kind of like a 180 from what the Rangers have been in prior years, where the 5-on-5 has been a struggle, but the power play has always come through. And last year it kind of started, but this year it's the first year I could really remember in quite some time where it struggled right out of the gates. And since Adam Fox has gone down, he's missed 7 games. The Rangers power play is at an 11.8%. And I know they went 2 for 2 on Saturday against Montreal, but one of those goals was a 4-on-3 in overtime, and the other goal was from the second unit. So this 5-forward first power play unit hasn't really been able to convert. And last night they actually hurt the team. You know, it was a 5-on-3. Jacob Trouba flips the puck out. Ryan Poehling brings the puck to the net. Jackson Lacombe, gets a rebound, and the puck actually goes in off Will Cooley. But the Rangers had 5 men on the ice. Anaheim had 3. It turned into 4, and Anaheim ends up scoring the goal. And I think right now this 5-forward unit, while they've had a decent sample size, it hasn't been good enough for me to keep it together. But Scott Morrow, who's the one defenseman that is probably your best asset to run a power play, has been scratched now the past game. So, and I don't know if he's going to play tonight. So I think the Rangers can certainly use their personnel a little bit better. Scott Morrow, a young guy who hasn't played a full season in the NHL yet, doesn't have the long leash from a coach like Mike Sullivan. So, that's one of those situations where you're like, I wonder why Sullivan, won't give Scott Morrow that runway when it's clear. And he's actually said it, that if they were to go to a defenseman, Scott Morrow is that guy. So as this continues and as Adam Fox is out of the lineup, you got to think at some point he just gives the chance to Morrow and lets him go with it. He got 1 or 2 reps in Chicago, but he hadn't practiced with that unit. So it's hard to just throw a guy in a situation like that. But yeah, the power play has been the Rangers' weakest link this year, and it's usually the strongest.
All right, I ask you this all the time. Got to ask you again since I have you on. At 16, 14-1, is this a playoff team?
Oh man, I mean, it changes every week. I feel
Deep side. There's a deeper side this time than last time.
Well, I'm always a glass half full guy, so I do think they will be a playoff team. I think Igor Shesterkin's too good for them to not be. JT Miller has picked up his production the past few games. Mika Zibanejad's played well too, as well as Vinny Trocheck, and the decor has been good. Like, there are nights where the team plays bad, but every team has those nights, or at least for the most part. The elite teams usually don't, but the Rangers are, a slightly above average hockey team. And if slightly above average can get you into the first round, then yeah, I think they are a playoff team. Do I think they'll do well in the playoffs? No.
All right, well, there you have it. There's the golden egg right there. All right, Jay Lazzy, appreciate you hopping on, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Brendan. Same to you.